Hey everyone, this is Jeff Murrin, wanting to keep talking about the Iliad by Homer, specifically the Robert Fagles translation. In this video, I want us to look at book 22. We're getting close. All right, this one is titled The Death of Hector, so no real spoiler alerts to really worry ourselves with. We kind of know how this one's going to play out, don't we? All right, well, I mean, not specifically, but we get a good idea of what's happening here. Of course, I want you to read on your own before you come here and listen to me talk about this, but anyway, let's jump right in. So where I want to begin is on page 542, all right, where Priam sees Hector coming. All right, because if you remember last time, all of the Trojans had retreated back into Troy, and Priam is standing there looking out and seeing as he is approaching. About line 39 is where I'm starting. It says, "And the old man moaned, flinging both hands high, beating his head and groaning deep, he called, begging his dear son who stood before the gates, unshakable, furious to fight Achilles to death." So, right there what we see is all the Trojans are inside the walls of Troy. Priam is looking out, but Priam is seeing him, Achilles approach, but he's looking down at his son Hector, who is outside the walls. Hector did not come in with everybody else. Hector thinks he's going to stand up to Achilles and take him on in a one-to-one battle. Says, "Oh, just stand there. Don't, dear child, waiting that man's attack, alone, cut off from friends. You'll meet your doom at once, beaten down by Achilles, so much stronger than you. That hard, headlong man." All right? So the thing is, he keeps begging him on the next page. Let's say around line 65-ish. He says, "Come back. Come back inside the walls, my boy. Rescue the men of Troy and the Trojan women. Don't hand the great glory to Peleus' son, bereft of your own sweet life." He knows what's coming. He knows if the two of them lock horns that really Hector has no way to win that kind of a thing. He even mentions down here at the bottom, because he realizes what's going to happen to Achilles here. At the bottom of the page, that last little break there, he says, "Ah, for a young man, all looks fine and noble if he goes down in war. Hacked to pieces under a slashing bronze blade, he lies there dead. But whatever death lays bare, all wounds are marks of glory. When an old man's killed," thinking of himself in the same regard, "and the dogs go at the gray head and the gray beard and mutilate the genitals, that's the cruelest sight in all our wretched lives." He wants Priam to come back in, or Priam wants Hector to come back in. Hector wants to die a noble death, and he says it's one thing for a young person to die in this way, but it's a completely different thing for an old man to go out that way. All right, he realizes that. And so he says to Hector, continues on, about line, let's say 97, 98, says, "Pity your mother too." Think about your mom in this, okay? "Beat back that savage man from safe inside the walls," he asks. Like, come inside and help fight us, and we'll try to beat him back, all of us together, back behind the walls. Don't go forth a champion pitted against him, merciless, brutal man. If he kills you now, how can I ever mourn you on your deathbed? Because if you're there and we're here, there's no way I can mourn you properly, send you off the way I should send you off after you die, okay? And we see a big epic simile after that of Hector as a poisonous snake. But we also see Hector's thoughts at the bottom of the page, about 5 lines before the end. He says, "No way out. If I slip inside the gates and walls, Polydamas will be the first to heap disgrace on me. He was the one who urged me to lead our Trojans back to Ilium, back to Troy, just last night, the disastrous night. Achilles rose in arms like a god. But did I give way? Not at all." He's like, if I go back in there, I'm going to be humiliated. Polydamas will be like, "Dude, I told you we should have come back here a long time ago. What took you so long? All right? And how much better it would have been. He admits it. It would have been better. Now my army's ruined thanks to my own reckless pride. I would die of shame to face the men of Troy. So he's going to die a literal death. He thinks that's better, more noble to die that literal death outside the city walls of Troy, taking on Achilles, than going back inside and just being ashamed that he didn't take Polydamas's advice in the first place. All right, I don't understand it. That's not how I operate, but whatever. All right, you know, he says I can see it now. What they'll say about line, 128. He says he destroyed his army. Better by far for me to stand up to Achilles, kill him, come home alive, or die at his hands in glory out there before the walls. That's a better option for him, he thinks. All right, but wait, he thinks this is interesting. He wants to maybe negotiate. That hasn't worked yet. I don't know why he thinks that might happen this time. He says, "What if I put down my studded shield and heavy helmet, prop my spear at the rampart, and go forth just as I am to meet Achilles? Noble Prince Achilles. Why, I could promise to give back Helen. Yeah, and all her treasures with her, all those riches Paris once hauled home to Troy in the hollow ships, and they were the cause of all our endless fighting. Yes, return it all to the sons of Atreus now to haul away, and then at the same time divide the rest with all the Argives, all the city holds. And then I'd take an oath for the Trojan royal council that we will hide nothing, share and share alike, hoards our handsome citadel's stores with all the depths." All right, yeah, that might work. All right, but he realizes, nah. It says down there, line 149, he'll cut me down straight off. When Achilles gets here, there won't be any time to negotiate. This man, he's had fire coming out of his head. He's not going to negotiate. He wants straight at me. And he realizes down at the bottom there of that little bit, better to clash in battle now at once. See which fighter Zeus awards the glory. If you'll see the fire imagery again at the top of page 546, and the bronze around his body, that's Achilles, flared like raging fire or the rising, blazing sun. That fire imagery is so important and continues all around Achilles even through this, all right? But so what happens is, this is kind of interesting, I think. As Achilles is coming, Hector just decides, I'm out of here. And he takes off running. He runs to the river Xanthus, okay? And he's running around. And it even says he runs around the city of Troy at the bottom. See there at the bottom of 546. So the two of them whirled 3 times. You seeing that? 3 times. We're starting that pattern over again. 3 times around the city of Priam, sprinting at top speed, while all the gods gazed down. Unbearable. A man I love, hunted round his own city walls and right before my eyes. My heart grieves for Hector, who burned so many oxen in my honor. Rich cuts, now on the rugged crests of Ida, now on Ilium's heights. But now, look, brilliant Achilles courses him round the city of Priam, all in his savage lethal speed. Come, you immortals, this is Zeus calling out. Think this through, decide. Either we pluck the man from death and save his life, or strike him down at last here at Achilles' hands for all his fighting heart. There are 2 options. Either we save him or we don't. Okay? But this is coming to a head right here. All right? And it says, immortal Athena, her gray eyes wide, protested strongly. Father, Lord of the lightning, king of the black cloud, what are you saying? A man, a mere mortal? His doom sealed long ago, you'd set him free from all the pains of death? Do as you please. She's used this psychology before. Do as you please, but none of the deathless gods will ever praise you. All right? So let this play out. Don't try to intervene here. This is done. This is fated to happen anyway. Just let it happen. All right. So while Hector was running around the city of Troy and Achilles was chasing him, he hoped that, some of the men might just rain down spears on Achilles or something like that to try to, help Hector out here. But it's interesting what we'll see on page 548 about line, let's say 246 or so. It says, and brilliant Achilles shook his head at the armies, never letting them hurl sharp spears at Hector. All right. So why? Someone might snatch the glory. So Achilles is saying right here, like, there is no way I am going to let you all try to pick him off with your spears. He's mine. I want the glory of taking down Hector, and I'm not going to give it to you. It says, though, continue on, but once they reached the springs for the fourth time, then Father Zeus held out his sacred golden scales. In them he placed two fates of death that lays men low, one for Achilles and one for Hector, breaker of horses. And gripping the beam mid-haft, the father raised it high, and down went Hector's day of doom, dragging him down to the strong house of death, and God Apollo left him. All right, it's done. Zeus's scales have spoken. Apollo's out. So what we see here on page 549 is, to me, one of the lowest, sneakiest, just dirty tricks by any of the gods in any of this entire thing, or even any of the soldiers, anything. This is just downright ruthlessly conniving, I think. So what we see here is Athena takes the form of a good friend in arms, soldier of the Trojan army named Deiphobus. All right, and he is a friend in arms with Hector. All right, so this is someone who Hector trusts, and Athena goes to Hector in the form of Deiphobus to trick him into thinking that he has a backup. I mean, it's crazy, because then he has this false sense of security, this false sense of support from his own people, while in reality they're all still back behind the walls. I'm about to line 271. It says, and taking the build and vibrant voice of Deiphobus, she stood shoulder and shoulder with him, winging orders. Dear brother, how brutally swift Achilles hunts you, coursing you round the city of Priam in all his lethal speed. Come, let us stand our ground together, beat him back. Deiphobus, Hector, his helmet flashing, called out to her. Okay, well, of course, it is a her. It's Athena. She is the one doing this. He believes it is him, Deiphobus. Says, dearest of all my brothers, all these warring years, all the sons of Priam and Hecuba produced, now I'm determined to praise you all the more. You who dared, seeing me in these straits, to venture out from the walls all for my sake. Like, you're doing this all for me. You've left the comforts, the security at least, of the walled city of Troy to come out here to help me stand up against Achilles. Oh, man. It says, while the others stay inside and cling to safety. The goddess answered quickly, her eyes blazing. True, dear brother, how your father and mother both implored me time and again. Clutching my knees, the comrades round me begged me to stay. Such was the fear that broke them, man for man. But the heart within me broke with grief for you. Now, headlong and fight. No let up, no lance speared. And so now we'll see if Achilles kills us both. Yeah, he's going to have to kill us both, because I have your back. All right. And hauls our bloody armor back to the beaked ships, or he goes down in pain beneath your spear. All right. So here we have Hector believing that Deiphobus is there with him, has his back, is somebody who can, put it this way, it's a 2-on-1 fight, okay? Now, we know that it's said time and time again that Achilles himself could probably take on the entire Trojan army, but at least Hector believes there's somebody here behind him. But it's all BS. It's a total fraud. And I think, to me, that has to be the dirtiest trick of all. That false sense of security. So because Hector feels like he has these reinforcements, he even says, and stops Achilles about 4 lines down from there. He says, no more running from you in fear, Achilles, not as before. 3 times I fled around the great city of Priam. I lacked courage then to stand your onslaught. Now my spirit stirs me to meet you face to face. Now kill or be killed. He's got his buddy with him, all right? So he's going to stand up to Achilles. And he says, I swear This is now I'm reading on the top of page 550. I will never mutilate you, merciless as you are, if Zeus allows me to last it out and tear your life away. But once I've stripped your glorious armor, Achilles, I will give your body back to your loyal comrades. Swear you'll do the same. All right? Achilles is having none of that, though. A couple lines down, he says, Hector, stop. You unforgivable you. Don't talk to me of pacts. There are no binding oaths between men and lions. Okay, remember lions there. Wolves and lambs can enjoy no meeting of the minds. They are all bent on hating each other to the death. So with you and me. No love between us. No truce till one or the other falls and gluts with blood. All right. And so Achilles hurls his spear. He misses. And Hector taunts him, says, you're all nothing but words. All right. And then Hector throws his spear and it hits Achilles' shield. And then, listen to this. About line 340, let's say 347 or so. So Hector shouted out to Deiphobus, bearing his white shield. With a ringing shout, he called for a heavy lance. But the man was nowhere near him, vanished. So he had the confidence that his partner was right next to him and says, hand me that lance, let's go, let's do this. And he turns and he looks, and no one's there. Nothing. He had been duped. He had been tricked by Athena. And that to me, it's just terrible. He says, yes, and Hector knew the truth in his heart. And the fighter cried aloud, my time has come. At last the gods have called me down to death. I thought he was at my side. The hero, Deiphobus. He's safe inside the walls. Athena's tricked me blind. And now, death, grim death, is looming up beside me. No longer far away. No way to escape it now. Skipping down about 3 lines, it says, well, let me die, but not without a struggle. Not without glory, no, in some great clash of arms that even men to come will hear of down the years. And he's right. Men will hear of this battle down the years. Because here we are, talking about it today. He wasn't wrong. We see the fire imagery again on page 552. About line, let's see, 376. It says, fire flared up from the sharp point of the spear Achilles brandished high in his right hand. All right. And so what happens is they're fighting hand to hand. Achilles knows that Hector is wearing his own armor. And he knows the weak spots in his own armor. And you'll see it on line 382. He says, but one spot lay exposed, where collarbones lift the neck bone off the shoulders, the open throat, where the end of life comes quickest. There, as Hector charged in fury, brilliant Achilles drove his spear and the point went stabbing clean through the tender neck. But the heavy bronze weapon failed to slash the windpipe. Hector could still gasp out some words. Some last reply, he crashed in the dust. And so, Achilles, standing over him, Hector, surely you thought when you stripped Patroclus' armor that you would be safe. Never a fear of me. Far from the fighting as I was, you fool, left behind there. Down by the beaked ships, his great avenger waited. A greater man by far. I'm greater than you. That man was I, and I smashed your strength. And you, the dogs and birds will maul you, shame your corpse while Achaeans bury my dear great friend in glory. So the thing is this, you killed Priam and we will bury him in glory, but you will be eaten by the dogs and the birds, my friend. You will be nothing but carrion for them. And so Hector replies back, I beg you by your life, your parents. Don't let the dogs devour me by the Argive ships. Wait till the princely ransom of bronze and gold, the gifts my father and noble mother will give you, but give my body to friends to carry home again. So, Trojan men and women, Trojan men and Trojan women can do me honor with fitting rites of fire once I'm dead. He says in response, beg no more, you fawning dog. 2 mentions of dog right there, all right? Here comes the third, line 411. No man alive could keep the dog packs off of you. Not if they haul in 10, 20 times that ransom and pile it here before me and promise fortunes more. No, not even if Dardan Priam should offer to weigh out your bulk in gold. Not even then will your noble mother lay you on your deathbed, mourn the son she bore. The dogs and birds will rend you blood and bone. There is no way I am falling for any ransom. It is not worth it. Your death and your body being devoured by dogs is worth it to me more than anything they could ever give me. So it says, at the point of death, Hector, his helmet flashing, said, I know you well. I see my fate before me. Never a chance that I could win over you. Iron inside your chest, that heart of yours. You have iron for a heart, he says. Like it's that cold metal, just nothing actually there. But now beware, or my curse will draw God's wrath upon your head. That day when Paris and Lord Apollo, for all your fighting heart, destroy you at Skian's gates. He predicts Achilles' death at the gates of Troy. All right, we see Achilles addressing all the Greeks, and then we see Achilles strapping Hector to his chariot to just drag him in the dirt, his head flopping off the back of the chariot to be dragged in the dust. We see on 555 that Hector's mom wails, the entire city wails. All right, Priam tries to leave Troy to go to the Greek ships to try to get Hector's body from them. Okay, and we see Hector's wife. Poor Hector's wife. Hector's wife has no idea. Andromache has no idea that this has actually transpired. Nothing has happened. She's been weaving. Okay, that motif has come up a lot, and we might take closer looks at that at some point. All right, but she hears all the wailing, and she says on, let's say, line 566, now you go down to the house of death. She's speaking to Hector, even though Hector's not there, all right? The dark depths of the earth, and leave me here to waste away in grief, a widow, lost in the royal halls, and the boy, only a baby, the son we bore together, you and I so doomed. Hector, what help are you to him now that you're dead? What help is he to you? Think, even if he escapes the wrenching horrors of war against the Argives, pain and labor will plague him all his days to come. Strangers will mark his lands off, stealing his estates. The day that orphans a youngster cuts him off from his friends, and he hangs his head low, humiliated in every way. There is nothing good that can come to your son now because you're dead. And think, man, you had that pride to try to stand up outside the city gates to take Achilles on yourself instead of coming back in the gates and maybe working with us all within the cities of Troy to take on the Greeks as the Greeks try to storm our ramparts the way we stormed their ramparts. But you leave me a widow, and you leave your son an orphan. What good are you now to us? She says at the top of page 558, then some bully with both his parents living beats him, our son, from the banquet, fists and abuses flying. You get out. You've got no father feasting with us here. And the boy, sobbing, trails home to his widowed mother. All right. She mentions that her son, he had it so good a few years ago when Hector was still alive, but now there's no hope for him. That's if he even is able to live through what the Greeks are going to bring to us now. Okay. And that's where we leave it. So that's book 21. So I want you to look at book 22, annotate, come up with some thoughts of your own, and I'll meet you back here, and I'll give you some of mine. All right? So, until that time, and as always, happy reading.